Hello, everybody. It's Isekai Defense Force Commander Jade once again here to save all of you all from whatever darkness has come to consume your souls. But yeah, today's just an update video plus just some random, conversation things going on. Just a little heart to heart between me and my viewing audience. We'd just be here chilling, right? It's gonna be a radio style video, so you can just plop this on in the background and listen to my beautiful, charming, sexy voice. At least I hope it's sexy to you, haha. Well, let's go. So, I guess I'll start off with just, current events bullshit. I don't know if you know, but well, you probably do if you've been watching this channel for any extended periods of time, but I typically don't cover anything that's outside of the sphere of the nerd world, unless it's just like more general life type of motivational stuff, which I do sometimes, which is kind of rare nowadays, but I used to do it a lot more months ago. But yeah, I feel like it's a good idea to just talk about stuff going on in the day-to-day world, since our world has kind of gone off the fucking deep end. Everything's gone crazy and wild, so I might as well talk about my experience with all of this. Generally speaking, because of my circumstances, I'm relatively removed from a lot of this bullshit that's been going on in the world. I've been trying my best to enjoy, or just enjoy myself during the whole quarantine, thing that has been going on for the last few months. Even now that it's starting to like cool down a little bit, it's still interesting. It almost feels unreal in a way, because I'm not out there in the world running around doing shit. I'm just a college student trying my best in this weirdo society. There's some people that feel like we're going into some crazy dystopian shit, or whatever. Or there's people that think they're using this opportunity to champion movements. We've had so much stuff happen in the last few months. It's hard to like really process it. It really has been a year to remember for everybody. It's certainly the most interesting year I think I've ever had in my life, just with all the stuff that's been happening. Technically, I've been alive for some wild shit that happens, but because you're so young and you're not necessarily conscious of everything that's going on, or who's doing what or why, it's not really a big deal to you, right? Because I was technically alive for when the Iraq War broke out, when 9/11 happened, the economic crash of 2008, or was it 2009? Who fucking cares? Basically those things, right? But again, as a little kid, you're so fucking far removed from it, it doesn't seem all that wild. And for this thing, I am sort of removed from it, but at the same time I'm not, because I'm just more conscious of everything that's going on. I don't want to get too deep into certain things, like the current protest that's going on. The protests in general are pretty interesting from the standpoint that I don't know if you've seen my avatars or whatever, but yes, indeed, I am black. So these things, they do personally relate to me, but at the same time, it's also, again, because I've been inside for so long, it almost feels like it almost feels like you're removed from it in a sense. I've experienced a limited level of like racism in my life, though once you start working, in the world and stuff, and you get a job and stuff, that's when you start seeing it, like, stuff like I have been stopped by the police before, because in my previous job at night, I used to like go by car. I used to go by car like very early in the morning, like 4 o'clock, or even before 4, because the job actually started. The job actually started a little bit before 4, so I would get there before 4 to like actually clock in and shit. So I'd be out, around like 3 or whatever, and then these cops, stopped and basically were like, oh, we heard about these robberies going on in the area, so we had to stop you. So it's like, I understand what it is. It's like, oh, you're out late at night or whatever, and you happen to be, black male, just chilling. Even though, again, the only thing I had with me was a freaking lunch box. It's like a lunchbox, barely anything. That's the only thing I carry with me to work or whatever. And just generally speaking, nothing came of it, but I never even really considered the whole situation to be anything like racial or anything. But again, I'm not necessarily the only person out that late at night, but they specifically came after me. And by the way, it was very close to my house too. So I'm walking outside my house. I get in a car, and then I'm off to work. Then down the street, that's when the cops like show up, and apparently they were watching from the moment I got in my. So it's like, it's weird shit like that makes you go, kind of weird. Okay, but generally speaking, so I'm still relatively pretty far removed from a lot of that shit. Like, in terms of like the really heavy stuff, a lot of the racism that, if any, that I've experienced in my life has been like really subtle things that people will say that I don't think they consciously intend to be racist, but like it definitely comes off as it. And as I'm saying this right now, I just remembered one big kind of instance of racism in my life, and it has more to do with how somebody who I called my friend treated me. I say friend in big quotation marks, because now I realize that relationship was a load of bullshit, and that's basically a big part of it. Basically just like how your interactions with people and kind of what they think about you, and the assumptions they make about you and shit like that. So yeah, that's as much as it is for like current events. There really isn't that much going on with me. Sure, there are a lot of people who are having much more interesting stuff going on in their day-to-day lives now. They're just, going out, championing causes and doing stuff, which I do support the idea of change that they want. Like, yeah, I do support change. I think this whole thing is chaotic and crazy, but again, I'm not a political channel, so I won't get super deep into that shit. But though, if you do want to hear my full fucking thoughts on this whole thing and on more black people stuff, you can just let me know. But whatever, I'll move on. Let's talk about just anime shit. Let's go back to anime shit, because this is an anime channel after all. Now, along with, again, the virus and stuff that's been going around that's kept us inside, we've also had a bunch of cancellation of shows that I've been really looking forward to, like Oregairu, ReZero, the newer seasons of those shows. Basically anything that I like has been canceled. It's like, oh shit, Jade likes this, let's cancel it. Fuck yeah. You know, let's push this shit back. Delayed to like months. That's basically how things have been going, right? But it looks like the delays will stop, and we're finally gonna get the new season of ReZero. I've waited literally fucking forever for this. I've been buying the light novels and like the light novels take a long ass time to like actually get to the point that the anime left off. I forget, because I'm actually behind on my light novels too. I'm behind on the light novels, so I forget whether they localized the actual copy that is up to date, that does have everything. Oh jeez. But yeah, I've been waiting literally fucking forever for this. I remember watching ReZero when it was airing all the way back, I think it was 2016. I was so fucking into that shit. Man, that was my thing. Now, you know, if you've been watching my channel for any period of time, or if you've started from the very beginning with my channel, and one of the first videos I have on here is about fantasy. So you know I love me some fucking fantasy, and I feel like ReZero is one of those series that really engages the imagination. There's like a lot of creativity that goes into it, and it's the reason why I think that it's as successful as it is compared to a lot of other isekai stories, because there's a lot of isekai stories and only some of them reach really critical success, and I think that's for good reason. I think that it's ironic coming from the Isekai Defense Force commander, I know, but yeah, like there's some isekai stories that don't have that killer creativity that I feel like is so crucial. And so there's a lot of them. The ones that we actually get to like see that actually get an anime and actually get a strong reception, those ones are actually the minority. There's a fuck ton of isekais that have been written or are in existence now. I remember reading somewhere, I forget where, that they have like a competition for like novel writers or just writers in general in Japan, right? And it got so bad, the amount of isekai stories that were being written got so bad to where they literally had to ban the theme of isekai for your story. That is like their thing. They're like, please do not write about people going to another world, please. They had to ban the concept because it was just so prevalent. So as much as people complain about isekai being like flooding, you know, anime or whatever, please note that you are not even seeing half of how many isekai stories actually exist. Like, you're only seeing the popular shit, the shit that actually rises to the top of, you know, stuff. And generally speaking, one thing I wish a lot more stories would do, and really like the core reason why we're kind of in this situation with isekai to begin with, is that for whatever reason people have just forgotten that they can just write a fantasy story. You can just write a fantasy story. You don't need to wisp some random Japanese boy to another world in order to get the same, you know, effect or ideas across. But I think because, you know, we're in a certain type of, you know, era as it were in our world, where people, which I want to get more into, like why isekai is as popular as it is one of these days in a video. But generally speaking, because we are where we are and we're in the world that we're in, people are drawn to the concept, the idea of the isekai, so to speak. And even if they could just write a fantasy story, which in some ways I think that actually leaves or opens up more room for creativity, in my opinion. But you know, it's whatever. I guess people just want to do another thing, and you know, that's another video idea. There is talking about how the isekai has hijacked the fantasy genre. Which is like wow for me, because I like isekai mainly for like the fantastical elements, and you know, the fantasy, as well as a little bit of wish fulfillment, though I'm not as big on that aspect, because I mean, you have harem, you know, harem series have existed and are in other genres that basically do the exact same thing, right? It doesn't necessarily need to be an isekai to do that. In fact, I think a lot of the problems that people have with isekai to even begin with are just extensions of of the problems people have with harems. But yeah, I've been going on on like isekai stuff, but you know why? I'm the Isekai Defense Force commander. I just can't shut up once I get started. Let's talk about other stuff. The other thing I really like, obviously, being Oregairu, which, from what I've read on Mal, isn't going to get its adaptation till fucking September. I'm so pissed. But you know, at least we have a date, man. At least we have a date. So now we can actually we actually have, you know, stuff to go off of and do stuff about. I really loved Oregairu when I watched it, just because I feel like it really strikes at the core of like a lot of insecurity that a lot of fucking nerds and anime fans have. Really strikes at the core of like the issues and stuff that not even just I say anime and manga fans, but not even just, you know, us nerds or whatever, but just people in general who are just, you know, really lonely and cannot connect with other people. And it really does a fabulous job of dissecting roles in society and like social and the social lives of people, and you know, a lot of the fake bullshit that happens and goes on in these environments. I just really fucking enjoy it. I feel like it's a very real feeling story, despite the fact that it's anime. And now, I guess let's talk about what I'm going to be watching right away, because I'm basically caught up with like Princess Connect Redrive and stuff, and it's got like one episode left, and I want to get onto something else, some other fantastical thing. And I've decided, because I basically ignored it when it was, you know, coming out back in the day, that I'm gonna watch Arslan Senki, or the Heroic Legend of Arslan, and that just looks like a really interesting story, even though I fucking avoided it like the goddamn plague when it came out. But it's got the things that I want, I think. Anyway, I'll probably get back to you on that. I've just been interested in it and stuff. It looks like a cool story. But yeah, off the topic of anime, I guess I'll just finish this off by just talking about in general what I've been up to. And it's just been drawing and shit, right? I've picked drawing back up. I don't think I mentioned this on this channel, but I drew a lot back in the day, or rather a few years ago, because I actually had hopes of possibly doing, you know, sequential storytelling with art. And while I'm very happy that I picked it up, I'm also thinking about things like, oh, why I dropped it in the first place. And the reason why I originally dropped art and drawing or whatever was just frustration and, you know, a disconnection with the creative process. I was very heavily into trying to draw realistically and trying to render things and getting things exactly the way I wanted it to. And in a way, I almost kind of lost the spirit of what art was supposed to be. And, you know, some of that is also just people I knew trying to, you know, push me in that direction and constantly telling me that, oh, I shouldn't just draw what I want when I want to draw it, basically. And I took their words to, like, so seriously, when, again, the most important thing about art and creation is expressing yourself. I think that if you're not drawing what you want to draw, like, you're going to quickly get frustrated and burnt out by what you're doing. And this applies to like anything in like life. If you're not doing what you want to do and you feel like you have to force yourself to do something else, then it'll come off as, you know, inauthentic and painful to you, right? It's not to say that you shouldn't work on realism, because, you know, since I've picked up drawing, that's basically all I've been working on. But I view it more as a stepping stone to getting to draw more stylized art, which is what I really want to draw. And in some ways, I find joy in the idea of stepping in, getting to that point, as well as just being more focused in the process that I'm trying to, you know, get to and trying to achieve. But yeah, this is the sort of update thing that's been going on, so I might as well update you. You know, last little short part of the video. Yeah, let's go. This is just talking about the channel and what I want to do with it. So, the channel, as far as I'm concerned, I'm actually pleased with my recent activities. I'm pleased with my video making. I'm pleased with those videos because I feel like I'm starting to think more in line with a content creator and what I want to do, instead of just, you know, some selfish notions. And I feel like that's what a lot of people come on YouTube with to begin with, is a lot of selfish notions. I sure did. So I guess, you know, this is just common, and eventually we just kind of have to get over ourselves and our own ego and create more stuff. And granted, I'm still an egomaniac. If you're making videos at all, I feel like you probably do have a big fucking ego in some way, sense, shape, or form, or you're egocentric in some way, shape, or form. But, you know, it's being able to get past that and think more about your audience and what they want rather than what you want. That is, you know, a big deal. That's like super important. But I think as well, you also need to think about yourself so that you can keep on making the videos, because ultimately, just like drawing, if you get super frustrated and you're not doing what you want to do, you're going to quit and you're ultimately not going to get anywhere. So for me, as far as video making, what I'm focused on is just producing content, making and creating more stuff, doing things that I think people might want, but also that I'm interested in, and just trying to put out more stuff, because my mindset is basically, the more things I make, the better I become at making and creating stuff. The easier it becomes, or rather, the more likely it becomes that I find a distinct, or I refine my style of creativity in video making form, and that I grow as a content creator, as well as just having more opportunities for people to discover my videos. You know, that's always a good thing. But yeah, that's basically what I'm focused on. And I think I'll wrap it up here by, you know, getting off, because I actually recorded a video before this one, and my throat is now on fire because I've been talking for so fucking long. That's why I've chilled out and I'm not like bouncing off the walls. In my normal videos, or the more recent videos that I've been doing, I basically been channeling the amount, an insane amount of energy into them, which is not necessarily out of character for me outside of, you know, the videos, but just it's just I've channeled, like, let's say 25 minutes of worth of energy into 6 minutes. That's basically what I've done. But yeah, that's basically it. If you listen to this entire thing, thanks. I really appreciate it. You didn't have to do that. I know I don't think a lot of people necessarily like listening to a lot of my longer form videos. So yeah, I really appreciate it. Thanks. I'll see you next time. Isekai Defense Force Commander Jade out.